Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ripple of Change podcast, Searching for Our Quadruple Aim. This bi-weekly podcast is to highlight, celebrate, and those doing positive and innovative things in healthcare, and to laugh and have fun. Remember, smash all those buttons, like, subscribe, forward, share, and whatever else I may have forgotten.
As a reminder, I'm Dr. Todd Otten, and here with my co-host, Joshua Judy, who is one of my former patients. And we've got to give our shameless plug for our book, Ripple of Change. You'll have to bear with us as I may or may not bring that up intermittently. I even got my bracelet on. That's the exact colors as the cover of the book that my wife made for me. So if you want more information, it's www.ourquadrupleaim.com. And as a reminder, our quadruple aim is 4 components: patient experience, quality care, lower costs, and provider wellness.
Today, we celebrate positive medicine with Dr. David Beaumont and Gayle Snyders. Our guests are joining from New Zealand and Australia, respectively, and thank goodness for technology to close those distances. I'd like to start by highlighting Dr. David Beaumont. David is the founder and chief evangelist for positive medicine. He has defined the principles of positive medicine during his professional career as a general practitioner, then an occupational health specialist, and later as an author of an award-winning book, Positive Medicine.
And we're already starting with the yin and the yang, so I'm going to introduce Gayle Snyders. She is the CEO of Positive Medicine, a physiotherapist and multidisciplinary practice owner until she became chronically ill and unable to work for 4 years. As her treating physician, David introduced Gayle to positive medicine, supporting her with the knowledge she needed to heal herself. It's a pleasure to have both of you join us today from the other side of the world. So thank you for that.
And
Thank you, Todd and Joshua. It's lovely to be with you, and we've really enjoyed our conversations that we've had with you in the past while.
Likewise. Yes, we very much enjoyed it, and so glad we've found each other and connected. So thank you.
David, any initial thoughts before we start lobbing questions at you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have been brought together because we all agree that there needs to be this ripple of change. So we absolutely, your concepts resonate with us, and our quadruple aim is entirely what positive medicine is about as well. So yeah, no, excited for the journey that we're going to go on together. And I don't just mean in this podcast.
I love it. I love it. In fact, I'm already going to go off script, which Josh is probably not surprised at all. I've been using the term positive disruptor quite a bit, and I know exactly where I got that from as I'm holding up David's book, Positive Medicine, here. And I know for certain that other individuals have started using that nomenclature as well. So I feel like these interactions are all happening for a reason, for the greater good, and it's wonderful to having been introduced to the two of you in the recent past.
Can I just add, Todd, that the full title of the book is Positive Medicine: Disrupting the Future of Medical Practice, and I had to qualify the word disrupting and make it really clear, this is positive disruption that we're talking about. We're actually creating a better future for medicine, for patients, and for all of the healthcare professionals who work within that healthcare industry.
That's fabulous, David. Yes. And I think that's a great lead in to read a quote from the book, if I may. This is from page 32. We need to start treating the patient as well as the disease. Our job is improving the quality of life, not just delaying death. You treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I'll guarantee you win. I love that. Wow. And I bet our listeners tuning in love that as well. Would you like to add or say anything about that, David or Gayle?
Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. I think that is so pertinent. It's a great way of framing our discussion. We at Positive Medicine talk about whole person health. We look at actually helping the whole person heal. So in every domain of their life. And we look at the 4 pillars of health: physical health, psychological health, emotional health or relationships, and spiritual health. And we have overtly included spiritual health into the model as what brings meaning and purpose to our lives and the connections that we have in our lives. First and foremost, the connection we have with our true self. Secondly, the connection we have with others, then nature and the land, and the potential of something beyond this, some kind of organizing force within the universe. Call it what you like, but this brings our model brings all of this together under those 4 pillars.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love it.
As do I. In going back in Ripple of Change, when I struggled with Josh and trying to get him to a better place, I didn't have a lot to offer in traditional Western medicine. And ultimately, I think the prescription that served him the best is when I said, just right. And fast forward 18 months, here we are, having published a book, and he's in a better place and I'm in a better spot. And we're talking to people on the other side of the world about trying to make even bigger changes. It's wonderful. And actually, I feel like that's a really good lead into the next question I had, which is a little bit for the both of you, I suppose. Joshua and I obviously started as a doctor-patient relationship, and that has clearly evolved into a great friendship and now business partners with Ripple of Change and our quadruple aim. But we really feel there's an uncanny similarity to the start of your relationship with Gayle, at least from what I understand. And I'd love if the two of you could walk us through that and how that blossomed over time.
Yeah, I think it's it's an interesting story, because I'd seen I don't know, at least 50 specialists, but before I arrived at David, I had medical file so fat that most people wouldn't want to take the case on. And the reality is that when I first met David, I thought, this is just going to be another dead end line, and another rehashing of really complicated medical history. And David's initial outset of looking at that is that he'd reviewed what kind of clinicians had seen my case, and he was like, well, there's nothing missed from a biological point of view. Those tests have been done, and so the whole conversation started, really about the concepts that are within positive medicine. Positive medicine is also based on the Maori model of health. It's called Te Whara Tapawha, which is these 4 pillars that we've spoken about, and how these elements really are integrated to form health. So when you're sitting in a case like I was, where I had a lot of physical symptoms, the reality is if those elements that had been addressed in the physical realm didn't resolve the problem, then obviously the problem's not sitting there. It's sitting in one of the other 3 pillars or aspects of my life, or after being unwell for so many years, actually probably in all of them. So that was the case, the story that David helped me unravel and find out what do I need to change? What do I need to change in my life to make things better? I'd already made a lot of changes up to that point. I'd done things like moved off grid, changed the lifestyle block, pretty much changed everything about my life except for divorcing my husband, which I haven't done. I'm very grateful I didn't. But basically, we made all these changes and they didn't work, because I tried to analyze what possible changes can I still do. But David took me through this process, and through this deep connection that you develop with yourself in the positive medicine process, you can unravel what changes you need to make. And I slowly but surely ticked away at making changes that improved my health. Some of them, a large number of them, are physical. things that I had to do differently that were against the advice I'd gotten in the medical realm. But the testing process and having the certainty of trusting myself to do what it is that I needed to do was part of what David supported me with. And so we developed such a deep friendship in the process of understanding and, just really sharing my life. And David is wonderful. He's as a doctor, he's not, he doesn't hold back. He shares pieces of his life too. So he lets you recognize that he's also human and oh yeah, no, I've done this and I've had these challenges and I've had these challenges and these ones I've overcome or these ones I haven't sorted out yet. And all of that realness, that real personal interaction is really what supported both for me to recover, to realize I'm real too, but also to really support our friendship developing. So when I was kind of coming out the other side of it, where he was like, well, my big dream is I want to take this into the wider realm. I don't want to just be working one-on-one with patients. I want to bring it into the world. And will you join me? I was like, of course. Yeah.
So can I just say there is something within what Gayle said that is of fundamental importance to the model of positive medicine. And that is that I didn't tell Gayle what to do. All I did was ask her a series of questions about where she's at or where she was at and how she got there. And then I sat back and I listened. Doctors are not good at sitting back and listening, and they're definitely not good at not telling. But one of the key principles of positive medicine is the answers are always within. So what I allowed Gayle to do was to go within and to find her own answers. She only told me afterwards that she actually at times got angry with me because my questions were either too probing or I didn't tell her what to do and she was left. We'd finish sessions and questions would be left hanging. And that was the important thing too, that I had to give her time to process all of this. So this took about 12 months for her to go through the whole process, but she had been off work for 5 years with a whole constellation of problems. But at the end of the day, she turned around and she said, I healed myself. This was nothing that I had done. I simply helped her create the circumstances for healing.
That's brilliant. I'm almost speechless, I suppose, which is not the norm. But I love that. I do have a question regarding the beginning of the interaction. David, did you have a timeline in mind you were thinking where this might occur for Gayle?
Yeah. I was given a timeline by her insurance company. And the timeline they gave me. No, listen, Todd. Listen.
I'm listening. My mind just immediately went to probably not the right place with that comment.
No, well, this is an important comment. They gave me 25 years. They said, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Gayle. They said, Gayle's 40. She's not worked for 5 years. She's on claim until 65. That is the load, the burden that we are carrying. Do what you can to turn this round and help her get back to life, get back to work, and ultimately for the insurance company, get off claim. So they saw that, I'm sorry, Gayle, again, they saw her as a bit of a lost cause, because this is what happens. People who've been on claim on insurance companies and not worked for 5 years are highly unlikely ever to go back to work. So they gave me 25 years and I took 12 months. Oh, no, it wasn't me. I didn't take 12 months. Gayle took 12 months.
Wow. And I'm speechless too, Todd. That's incredible. I mean, it really is. There's a lot to unpack there. I think there's a lot to contemplate about people that are listening or I think, kind of blown away by that. But there's also a lot of parallels to Ripple of Change. I mean, you've highlighted something there about just listening, and Todd threw that out earlier too, about not telling me what to write, just to write. And when I asked him about a little bit more guidance, that was all I got. Just go, reflect, think about everything you've experienced, and it really started to come up from within. So thank you for sharing that and being so transparent. That's incredible.
Yeah, Joshua, what's interesting in, that writing is that's the creative process. And when we look at our structural framework of the pillars of health, creativity comes out of the spiritual realm. So it's in order to create something, you need to be deeply connected with who you truly are. That's where creativity comes from. That's where the secret magic source comes from. It doesn't come from outside inspiration. It comes from inside inspiration, which is why Todd would never be able to tell you what to write, because there had to be you, because that's the only thing that will bring you that thrill and sense of elation. And that's kind of the magic of positive medicine. I think this whole realm and this understanding of what fits in that very vast box of spiritual health is something we'd like to universalize as a concept to understand. There is a religion that fits in that box too, but there's a lot of other elements that fit in that box, and we need to think about all of those aspects in order to really nourish ourselves and take life in the direction of what's important for us.
And just to pick up on that word religion, we make it really clear that spiritual health isn't about religion unless it is for you. And of course, we live in a secular society in our Western world now where people who count themselves as religious is a diminishing number. Still incredibly important for some people, and we encourage that. But what we're doing in universalizing the concept of spiritual health is saying we all deserve spiritual health, because spiritual health is the health of the spirit. It's the health of the essence of who we truly are. So one thing we're doing is enabling people to tap in to that inner essence of themselves. And that's one of the things that writing does. And we encourage all of our patients, we don't call them patients, we call them clients. We encourage all of our clients to write things down, but we tell them to journal. We tell them not to think about what they're writing, just to write. Take a question and just write what comes to you, and just keep writing. And it's a wonderful, wonderful tool, because when I do that, I can write reams, I can write pages without even thinking, giving one thought to what I'm writing. And when I read it afterwards, I go, oh my goodness, did I write that? And hence that quote, Joshua, as you were reading that quote that is in my book, my immediate thought was, wow, did I write that?
Award winning. Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it amazing that we're carrying so much of this around? I mean, and that we're able to, share it with the world. So I guess, David, very profound thoughts. Gayle, I'd like to ask you something. How did you reconnect spiritually to do some of the things that David, you feel, was enabling for you? Because I know for myself, I felt very disconnected, I think, spiritually for a long time, to be able to, move forward. So how would you say that you were able to take those steps?
And I think that's actually an excellent question, because it wasn't just one thing at all. But it was, when I was a kid at school, if I got sick, my mum was like, well, if you don't go to school, then you can't go to the party, right? Now, if you've been chronically sick for 4 years, you've been staying home, you've not been going to school, you're not doing the fun things either. And in this illness process, I disconnected from all of the things that brought me joy in life. all of the things that were really fun. And I was just struggling and coping to do the basics, because I have children, so I was trying to still look after them as best as I was able. I did try unsuccessfully several times to return to work, but I didn't go out and have fun. So one of those things was reconnecting with all of the things that I loved, both from before I became ill. Some of the things I couldn't really reconnect with. I used to be an ultra distance runner. That wasn't really an option for me at the time, but I did love walking in nature. So I reconnected with that. And I didn't feel it was safe for me to go diving in the ocean, but I did go swimming in the ocean. And I did reconnect with a whole of my friends, and really made a point of finding fun and joy and frivolity and doing silly creative things without a goal. So I did a whole lot of those aspects. Other parts were really about finding a new identification with myself. If you are a healthcare professional and you've worked really hard in that realm, and you've really upped your skills to a high level, your sense of who you are is very much attached to that role that you've played. So, you go to work, you do excellent work, you have patients that are really grateful. So you're constantly getting this positive reinforcement about the great things that you've done on a day-to-day basis. Now you take that away and you go, well, who do I identify with now if I'm no longer that? So I had to, and this is the hard bit. Those are the sticky-ended, pointed questions that David asked, as far really going into yourself and go, well, who am I without that? Who am I? What really brings me joy? And I probably found out some of those answers to those questions that I'd never even acknowledged to myself throughout my whole life. So I'm busy doing something far more creative than when I was working in a clinical setting, for instance. So it's about really discovering that way in. And in your body, if you've been ill, your body tells you. It's this great thing. If you're doing something that brings you joy, that's aligned with your spiritual self, you feel joy and light and well. And if you one of the symptoms I have is arthritis. If I keep pushing against things that I feel I must do, my arthritis just gets worse. So which means it's not aligned. And then you stop doing it, and it feels better, and you take a different direction, and your things move with ease again. So that's the one joy of having a body that's very sensitive and shows you where you've gone wrong, is that it's going to show you where you go wrong every step of the way. And you got to learn to listen and tune in and go, oh, okay, not that direction, then let's go into the direction where I do feel energized and at ease and all of those things. So that was the process, and it was definitely a process. It's not an overnight, wake up one morning and it's all obvious, the situation. Yeah.
So there wasn't just a switch that got flipped?
No. And do you know what? It's a switch that gets flipped today, and then it might unflip itself over a while, and then you can have it flipped for, it's about having the number of days that switch is flipped for, more in the green than in the red. And that's the process. So even if you get the aha moment today and it's the right one, it doesn't necessarily stay that way. It's a constant work. It's a constant working process, because you change, right? You improve, you develop more capacity, and therefore you have more capacity, and therefore your essence, your spirit of who you are expects more from you too. So you can't keep doing what worked last year. You got to keep reproducing yourself. Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm sorry, Joshua, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was to say a ton of wisdom in what you said. And that theme again of listening, again, it's throughout. So thank you for sharing.
And I think one of the struggles that we have in the United States is a lot of times people want the easy button, or the proverbial switch to be flipped, or they want a pill that'll just make it magically better. And unfortunately, that's not the reality a lot of times. I think this might be a good opportunity to take a half-second pause, and then Joshua's going to introduce our Ripple Challenge questions, which are intended to get to know you a little bit better, throw things off a little bit. So I'll be quiet for a second, and then Joshua, why don't you introduce?
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Ripple Challenge questions, we throw these out there. Supposed to be quirky and fun, add a little bit of levity and break down silos. And we want to get to know you better. So we'll start with an easy one and a fun one. This is to David. Ripple Challenge question number 1. Tomato or tomato?
Tomato.
All right.
That's brilliant. All right, Gayle, potato or potato?
Well, that's an easy one. It's definitely potato.
I love it. That's wonderful. And we'll back up just a bit in our questions here. I know you have a conference coming up in September, I believe, in Auckland. Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually a week tomorrow. It's called the Future of Medicine Conference, which has been organized by Professor Grant Schofield at Auckland University. And yeah, he's brought together a lot of people who believe in the ripple of change, believe that there is a better future for medicine. And 12 months ago, he asked if I would speak at the conference. He'd just done last year's conference. And I said, of course, yes, I'd love to. This is my topic. Where is medicine going? And I actually didn't find out until 2 weeks ago that I'm actually delivering the opening keynote. So obviously I'm going to be talking about the future of medicine, but I'm going to be sharing some pretty radical ideas with the audience because for the first time ever, I'm going to be talking to an audience who all want the same thing. They all want a better future for medicine. Todd, earlier you referred to traditional Western medicine. And I've got a slide where I'm comparing positive medicine to traditional Western medicine. And I thought, what should I use? Should I say traditional or should I say Western? And I thought, you know what? I'm actually going to say conventional medicine. What is conventional medicine? Well, a convention is the way we do things. And conventional medicine is about the way we do medicine, the way we've always done it, the way we've done it for the last 150 years. And the realization that actually it's not good enough. It is failing patients and it is failing doctors and other healthcare professionals. So I think it's a really important distinction. So yeah, I'm painting a vision of a brighter future. Oh, can I keep going? Can I keep going?
I'm not going to stop you. This is great.
Please.
There is one concept that I kind of hold back a bit, and that is the idea of a revolution in healthcare. And I hold that back because people are scared of revolution. It sounds a negative concept, but in reality, I'm of course talking about a positive revolution. And it needs to be a revolution. We need to revolutionize medicine. We have tried so many times with healthcare reforms to allow medicine to evolve, to get a bit better. But what that means is we're starting from the wrong point. We're starting from where we're at now. And we can't tweak medicine. We actually have to not start from scratch, but just to acknowledge it's not working and go, okay, if there is a brighter future, and let's just, for sake of argument, call it positive medicine, how do we get there? So we are now working with a general practice in New Zealand who are introducing positive medicine into their practice. They've just completed taking a group of patients through the positive medicine process, and the feedback has been amazing. He is going to research the hell out of this every step of the way to see what the outcomes could be. So this is about the field of possibilities. This is about that question, what if? What if this could be the future of healthcare? And I don't just mean New Zealand or Australia. I mean US, UK, Europe, globally. That's our tiny dream, that positive medicine becomes the health model of the world.
This is wonderful. And in part, you're making my job really easy here because you're answering a lot of the questions that I have listed. and so I can just sit back and listen and enjoy and learn. And really, that's what we're trying to do with this, is to highlight our colleagues out there that are just doing amazing things to take the healthcare space to a better place. And I applaud you for that. It's absolutely wonderful. Joshua, why don't we throw the ball back to you for the next question here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what you just said, David, I think is a great frame up for these next two questions, kind of a two-parter here. And I'd like to hear both your thoughts, David, and Gayle's. When you talk about this revolution in medicine, so if you could change one and only one thing, if you were to limit it about healthcare today, what would it be? And the second part to that, conversely, what wouldn't you change and why?
Yep. The one thing I would change is to stop talking about seeking cures and instead start talking about helping people heal. We're actually, as doctors and healthcare professionals, we have been scared of that word heal because it sounds a bit alternative. But actually, all of recovery from illness is healing, and all of it comes from within. It isn't actually about what the doctor does to the patient. It's actually what the patient's body does for themselves. What we're doing with healing is optimizing the process of homeostasis. The body is an incredible healing machine. Let's just allow it the opportunity to do what it does best. And to do that, we have to listen to our bodies, exactly as Gayle has described. What wouldn't I change? You know what I wouldn't change? I wouldn't change caring. Doctors are naturally caring people. For goodness sake, that's why they went into the professional in the first instance. It is the system that corrupts that ability to care for patients. That's where burnout comes from, that the system doesn't allow us to care, doesn't encourage us to care. And so doctors, all healthcare professionals, do what they do because of that calling to care and help people.
Amazing. Beautiful, beautiful thoughts you just put forth, David. Gayle, I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so I think my one thing, what would I change, is I would change the self-efficacy question. So we as patients, or we as clients of users of medicine, we need to understand how huge our role is in the healing process. If you don't have self-efficacy, if you don't have the sense that I am going to make myself better, you're not going to get better. Really understanding that this relationship with your doctor is there to support you, to provide you the circumstances for healing, to educate you and to guide you toward it, and certainly if you've just broken your arm, to put the plaster of Paris on. But your body is healing in that moment. So that whole self-efficacy part is so important. And what we're seeing in medicine is the opposite is happening. Is the longer you're in the medical system, the more you learn helplessness. You learn how you have to depend on others to make you well. And that is that's got to change. So that's my one. That's got to change. What doesn't have to change, I have to fully agree with David there. It's the people. There's such beautiful people in healthcare with so much love. They need to be supported to do what they do. We don't need less healthcare professionals that care for people, care for bodies, and are interested in medicine and interested in helping people heal. We need all of them. So definitely the people in medicine are the ones that are really special. And I think that's what David alluded to. We have the opportunity to create a vision of, okay, good. We've thoroughly tried to improve the system, right? And so many different iterations, and we know it's not improvable. We know it needs to be rethought. So let's, as a group of professionals in this field and passionate people within this field, let's make a vision for how we want it to look and make it so. It's our creative project. This is something we can do together. We can create a different medical system because we know this one isn't working. You can create artificial intelligence, for goodness sakes. Of course you can create a new medical system. No problem. We just need to all group together and do it. Create a vision and get on with it.
Well, if I could reach through my computer and give you both a hug right now, I would. But the virtual hug, that's wonderful. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I love the smiles and the laughter when we talk about this stuff. In the midst of a lot of the frustrations that exist, just around the world with the infrastructure. It just warms my heart, and this is really what we wanted to do with our podcast, was to take a different approach and talk about hope and opportunity and love and all those things that you don't hear about as much as we should. So kudos to the both of you for saying those things. How about we go to Ripple Challenge question number 2. Gayle, biking or golf?
Oh, biking for sure.
Yeah. And David, running or swimming, David?
Oh, sorry, say that again.
Running or swimming, David?
Oh, swimming, definitely. I swim 3 or 4 times a week. Really enjoy it. I find it meditative when I'm swimming. I would love to be able to run, but one of the things that I've always said in meetings generally, I'm a sprinter. I'm not a marathon runner. So recently, I actually tried sprinting. I used to be a 100-meter, 200-meter sprinter. And I tried it recently and I thought, oh my goodness, I can still run. It's just, I'm not a marathon runner.
You and I share that both, that affliction, or perhaps it's a benefit. And a quick aside, I'll share this story. I went out for cross country once, and it was all I could do to just run to my car. And when they said 2 miles to warm up, and that was it, I knew I was a sprinter. So.
Ironically, I too was a sprinter, and believe it or not, long jumper. But I was actually going to celebrate my son. I think you both will appreciate this. He's a collegiate distance runner, and his 5K time last week was 15 minutes and 49 seconds.
Wow.
That's just a sprinter running a long distance.
There's some validity to that statement, I would say, for sure. He's a very talented young man.
Yeah.
So can I share something that nobody knows about me? And that is that I wasn't a long jumper. I was 100 meters, 200 meters, shot put and discus. And when I was 15, I came second in Great Britain in the shot put. And then, unfortunately, everybody caught up with my growth spurt and overtook me. But yeah, there was a moment of glory.
That is wonderful. That is exactly the kind of response I was hoping to get out of these quirky little questions that we threw in the middle of this. So thank you so much for that. I think we could potentially combine a couple of the other ones here. I wanted to offer an opportunity. I know you're working on a book as well, I believe. David, is that correct?
Yeah, we're so positive medicine disrupting the future is very much aimed at the theory of why this works. The next book that Gayle and I are collaborating on is actually how to apply it in practice for yourself. So we're going through the 4 pillars, but we're also adding in some of the science as well, just so that people can understand this isn't anything woo-woo, and it's definitely not alternative. The science is all there. So we're just capturing it to enable people to heal. I just want to pick up on that self-efficacy word that Gayle used. So this is a word that the psychologists use, and we use it a lot because it is underpinned by a modern definition of health that says that health is the ability to control our lives. Its fuller version is health is the ability to adapt and self-manage in the face of life's challenges. And that's what we're doing in this book. We're helping people to adapt and self-manage in the face of life's challenges. Adapt and self-manage is exactly what homeostasis is. It is the body reacting to our circumstances and our environment. So by helping people take control of their own lives, which is self-efficacy, self-efficacy is, I believe I control my own life. I believe that my destiny is in my hands. I believe that my choices determine my future, which is actually a truism. Every choice we have ever made in life has led to this moment. Every choice we make from this moment will lead to where we are in 6 months' time, in 6 years' time. So helping people realize that and take control of that and aim for self-fulfillment and fulfilling their true destiny is, what this book is all about.
David, I think one other thing, we're actually not writing one book, we're busy with 2. We're also busy with a physician level textbook of positive medicine. So I don't know which one you were referring to when you asked, but we're also collaborating with the group of thought leaders across, globally around the development of the field of positive medicine for physicians to use as a clinical text. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a textbook of the practice of positive medicine for healthcare practitioners. So not just doctors, but anyone working in healthcare. And it's going to explore in great depth the science behind the concepts that we're describing. It's going to look at the evidence base. The reality is that nothing we are saying is actually new. There's nothing novel about the concepts that we're including in the positive medicine model. The only difference is that we've brought them all together. This is a synthesis of amazing science, particularly neuroscience and positive psychology. But the concept of synthesis includes the realization that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. By bringing this all together, we're actually creating something very special. That's what we're capturing in the textbook. So yeah, Gayle, thank you for pointing out that actually there's 2 books we're writing. Basically, one for doctors and healthcare and the other for people.
That's amazing. And spiritually, I feel like we connected even before we first talked, because I'm so glad you came back to this concept, if I may, real quick, about the self-efficacy, because Gayle, something you said earlier, and David highlights this very well. You had said that, we need to listen to our own bodies. We need to believe. And I remember Todd during a very dark spot in my journey saying, I believe you will get better, but you have to believe it too. And so what you said actually lands with me so strongly. Actually, I feel a bit emotional. hearing you use those words, and it really took me back to that point in time. And I write about that in Ripple of Change. So I'm really glad we circled back to that. Thank you for that.
And as everyone can see that's watching this video, clearly I'm not in a dark space anymore as the sun is setting, and I didn't really take that into consideration as I'm going in and out of the light. So for those that are listening, it's been quite the kaleidoscope on my face on the visual, if you will. So this has been an absolutely wonderful conversation, and to hear the two of you talk about positive medicine and the hopes and dreams and ideas and aspirations that you have associated with it is super exciting. And I look forward to seeing the evolution of this over time. I'd like to offer both of you, if you'd like any final thoughts that you'd like to impart. I suppose now would be a wonderful time, and we can leave that open-ended. Before we do that, though, I'd like to just give a shout out to your website. And if you have anything to add, it's positivemedicine.com, correct?
Yeah. We are, as of next week, launching our practitioner training community. So we've got formal training for practitioners, healthcare professionals, health coaches, to support them in learning how to practice according to the positive medicine model. And what we've done is we've created a learning community, because we know as much as we know now, and we know that as a collective we're going to learn so much more in the future about how to actually apply this when we're creating this vision of the future that we all share. So it's going to be an ongoing learning group for us to move forward. So we're very excited to share that with everybody. Yeah,
and my closing thought is that the whole of this discussion that we've had has actually been about hope. We want to give doctors, healthcare professionals, and patients hope for the future. And this is where I think the ripple of change is such an important concept. The ripple effect, or the butterfly effect, comes from chaos theory, where Lorenz said that the flap of a butterfly's wing in Buenos Aires can create a tornado in Texas. And this is the point. Lots of little ripples, lots of little changes can actually reach a tipping point that leads to massive transformation. This is the revolution we're talking about. It's a positive revolution, and we want people to go away with that hope that we're nearing that tipping point, and they can be part of tipping us over the edge into positivity.
And what David said is so great. It's at every level, right? So the positive changes I make, if I make lots of little steps in my day-to-day life, those are also part of that ripple. And each individual person doing that, in the way we work, in the way we interact with our patients or our clients, in the way we live our lives, and then what you guys are doing, really connecting us all globally, and sharing this wisdom and sharing this knowledge. And I think that's what's so critical. Each person is going to take their core talent or gift from a spiritual level and use that piece. That everybody has a part to play, and I think finding your part and living that and doing that's what's the magic. We can only do this together, and that's the message. Each person has to do their few steps, but if we know that we're not alone doing those few steps, and we know that there's a whole lot of people doing their few steps, we can really create this vision we're wanting to create. And it's very exciting to see the momentum that's being made already by these positive actions. So yeah, it's awesome.
Grab your copy today. Ripple of Change is available in hard, soft, and ebook formats. More information at www.ourquadrupleaim.com. Thanks for listening, and let's turn ripples into waves of lasting change. Stay tuned to this podcast as we search for examples of our quadruple aim.